I made a 2-part silicone mold to cast Dragonpriest masks. Here's how I did it. This is a mini version of my Dragonpriest mask model from Skyrim. As you can see, there's a slot in the back for a magnet. When the piece is sanded and primed, I start by building a little bed for it from foam board. I glue it down with hot glue, and then slot more wedges of foam board in to fill as much of the gap as I can. Then I use some clay to fill out the rest of the gap. Once there's no gap left, I add some mold keys. In this case, they're just little rectangles of clay. With a wet brush, I smooth out the clay, and here's the finished mold base. Now I build a mold wall around my piece by hot gluing more foam board around each side. With Mac Wax mold release, I spray the piece and the mold walls. Next, I mix my silicone. I start by pouring one part, then adding silicone pigment and mixing it into that part. Then I add the second part and mix all parts together. Doing it this way lets me see that the silicone is properly mixed. I pour a little silicone onto the piece and then brush it into all the detail areas. Then I pour more and brush more. Then pour up to just below the top of the mold wall. For some added stability, I stretch rubber bands around the mold. Then I swirl the mold around and tap the edges to disperse bubbles. I'm sorry, I forgot to film me demolding, but here's the first half of the mold out. I pick the glue and foam board residue off the back of the piece and slot it back into the mold, and build the mold wall for the second half of the mold. On this half, I need to make a pour spout. So on a flat area, I glue down a little metal pipe that I filled with clay. Then I spray mold release, mix up my silicone, and pour the second half of the mold. Now you can actually watch me open up the mold. I remove the rubber bands and tear off all the foam board. Then I can open up my finished mold, and I have a 2-part silicone mold ready to cast up some Dragonpriest Mask magnets. Follow to see the casting process next.